Ava Jones held tightly to the last of her printed resumes as she walked through the bustling city streets, young with wavy black hair cascading gently over her shoulders and determination shining in her honey-colored eyes. Ava faced the reality of being a single mother trying to find her place in the competitive world of work. Her simple dress, though well-kept, showed signs of wear and tear. Each resume she submitted was a mix of hope and desperation. She muttered to herself, trying to stay positive, "Something will work out, Ava. You need to believe." Passing by a bank, she hesitated for a moment, considering her limited high school education, but something urged her to enter the sophisticated environment, and air conditioning provided a brief relief from the summer heat. Assignment advertising cleaning services vacancies caught her attention. "It's a start," she thought, taking a deep breath before approaching the counter. The HR manager, a middle-aged man with thin-rimmed glasses, examined Ava's resume with an indifferent expression. "So you're interested in the cleaning position? You do realize this is a prestigious bank, and we expect meticulous work, right?" Ava nodded, her voice firm. "Yes, I understand, and I'm willing to give my best. We all have to start somewhere, don't we?" He assessed her for a long moment, his hesitation evident. "Many people have applied, but I see sincerity in your eyes," he sighed, seeming to ponder something in his mind. "All right, I'll give you a chance. Be punctual and show dedication. This bank values excellence." Ava smiled, gratitude overflowing in her eyes. "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." And so, against all odds, Ava's journey at the bank began with the dawn of a new day. Ava Jones opened the door of her small house in Berlin, sunlight streaming through the worn curtains. The house, though modest with its worn wooden floors and faded wallpaper, represented a fresh start for her and her daughter, Emmy. The fresh scent of paint still lingered in the air, evidence of the recent renovations. Emmy, a 5-year-old with golden curls and curious eyes, rushed to the window, pointing outside with excitement. "Look, Mommy, there's a lady coming here," she exclaimed, pointing to the house next door. Ava approached, seeing an elderly woman slowly making her way toward them, a basket of freshly baked muffins in hand. Her silver hair was elegantly coiled, and her blue eyes radiated kindness. "Good morning, dear. I'm Sophia, your neighbor. I brought some muffins to welcome you," Ava returned the smile. "Thank you so much, Sophia. I'm Ava, and this is Emmy. We're new around here, I noticed. If you need anything, I'm right next door," Mrs. Sophia said, patting Emmy's head, "and if you ever need someone to watch this princess while you work, I'd be happy to help." Ava hesitated for a moment, past traumas weighing on her mind. "I grew up in an orphanage," she began, looking away. "I never knew my biological parents. It's hard for me to trust people with Emmy." Understanding the depth of Ava's revelation, Mrs. Sophia held her hand. "I've had my challenges too, dear. I promise to care for Emmy as if she were my own granddaughter." With Mrs. Sophia's sincere promise, a new chapter began in Ava and Emmy's lives, filled with hope in a welcoming neighborhood. The interior of the bank was impeccable, marble floors, high ceilings, and a formal atmosphere that echoed in every corner. However, for Ava, the newest employee responsible for cleaning each day was a growing challenge. In the cafeteria during lunch, she overheard murmurs coming from a nearby table. Melissa, a senior employee with platinum blonde hair and a perpetually haughty expression, said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Imagine going from a janitor to a plant specialist. What a promotion, huh?" Derek, another colleague, laughed. "Does she think taking care of plants will get her ahead in life?" Ava, sitting a few tables away, took a deep breath, trying to maintain her composure. With a discreet sigh, she told herself, "It's not about them, it's about Emmy. Stay focused." The next day, Ava decided to arrive at work earlier. She meticulously cleaned every desk, every corner, and cared for the plants scattered throughout the agency as if they were her own. It was her secret passion, and every green leaf and blooming flower under her care brought a smile to her face. One morning, as Ava was pruning one of the plants, a gentle voice sounded behind her. "You have a special touch with them, don't you?" Turning around, she found herself face to face with Mr. Davis, one of the department managers. They bring life to this place, you know, and they deserve care," Ava replied, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. He smiled. "Your commitment and dedication are remarkable, Ava, not only with the plants, but with all your work. Keep it up." As Mr. Clark walked away, Ava felt a wave of gratitude. She knew that despite the mockery and challenges, she was on the right path, and with her determination and passion, it wouldn't only be the plants that flourished under her care but her own life as well. Benjamin Davis, a commanding figure in his well-tailored suits, always carried an air of authority. After all, he was the director of the agency. His office on the top floor of the building offered a panoramic view of the city. As he reviewed some documents on his desk, his gaze shifted to the floor below, where he watched Ava meticulously tending to the plants and organizing the space. For weeks, Benjamin had been noticing Ava's diligence, her dedication. Not only to cleanliness but also to the small details, like the perfect alignment of magazines and the gleaming floors, had left him impressed. One sunny morning, as Benjamin headed to the conference room, he crossed paths with Ava in the hallway. She carried a bucket and a broom but stopped upon recognizing the director. "Ah, Ava," Benjamin began with a friendly smile. "I wanted to tell you how much I appreciate your work here. Your efficiency really stands out." Ava, slightly surprised by the recognition, thanked him modestly. "Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. I do my best every day." Benjamin, furrowing his brow slightly, added, "You know, there's something about you that seems familiar. Have we met before?" Ava, uncomfortable with the suggestion, quickly replied, "I don't believe so, sir. I spent most of my youth in an orphanage. My life has been quite simple, with not many notable encounters." Benjamin, sensing her hesitation, nodded with understanding. "I see. I'm sorry if I seemed intrusive. Keep up the good work, Ava." She gave a small nod of her head. "Thank you, Mr. Davis." They went their separate ways, but Benjamin's curiosity about Ava's past had only just begun. Stephania Davis, with her flowing brown hair and emerald eyes, was the epitome of youth. Many said she had the world at her feet thanks to her marriage to Benjamin. But behind the facade of glamour and wealth was a woman who had married more out of financial necessity than love. On a sunny afternoon, Stephania sat in a luxury cafe with her close friend, Georgia. As they sipped their drinks, Georgia couldn't help but mention the rumors circulating about Benjamin's new employee at the bank. "I heard that Benjamin is quite impressed with someone named Ava. She's just a janitor, but apparently, she's been catching a lot of attention," Georgia commented, casting a furtive glance at Stephania. Stephania furrowed her brow, clearly unsettled. "Ava? I can't believe Benjamin would pay so much attention to someone from the cleaning staff." Georgia, always ready to fuel gossip, whispered, "She's young, beautiful, and determined. They say Benjamin even defended her when some colleagues spoke ill of her." Stephania rolled her eyes. "That's just gossip, Georgia. Why would he be interested in her?" "Oh dear, Stephania," Georgia said, smiling mischievously, "you know how these wealthy men are. They're always on the lookout for something new and exciting." Stephania, trying to hide her insecurity, replied, "Benjamin and I have a solid marriage. He wouldn't be swayed by a woman he barely knows." But deep inside, Stephanie is seething with jealousy and uncertainty, and Georgia, with her own secrets and games, was more than happy to stoke that insecurity. Stephania, with a mix of curiosity and insecurity pulsing in her chest, decided she needed to see for herself the woman who, according to rumors, had captured her husband's attention. She called Georgia, who was always up for an adventure. "Georgia, do you have plans for the afternoon? I need your company." Georgia, sensing the urgency in Stefania's voice, replied, "Nothing that can't be postponed." "What's going on?" "I want to meet this Ava," Stefania declared, resolute. Georgia raised an eyebrow. "Oh, the janitor. This should be interesting." Later, the two of them discreetly entered the bank agency. Stefania tried to appear indifferent, but her eyes quickly scanned the space in search of Ava. That's when she spotted a young woman with a graceful posture and dark hair cascading over her shoulders, attentively tending to the plants. "Is that her?" Georgia whispered, looking in the same direction. Stefania nodded, taking a deep breath to gather her courage. She approached Ava and, with a polished smile, extended her hand. "You must be Ava. I'm Stefania, Benjamin's wife." Ava, a bit surprised, looked up and greeted her. "Yes, I am. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Davis." Stefania, trying to hide her nervousness, continued, "I've heard a lot about you from Benjamin. He speaks highly of your work." Ava, sensing the tense atmosphere, replied cautiously, "I'm glad to hear that. I'm just doing my job to the best of my ability." The conversation flowed for a few more minutes, with Stefania trying to assess the woman in front of her, and Ava trying to stay composed in the presence of the director's wife. Both, for different reasons, were determined to learn more about each other. It was a morning like any other in the bank agency. Employees were getting ready for another day of work, and the familiar sound of the coffee machine echoed through the hallway. However, the tranquil atmosphere was abruptly interrupted when Mr. Davis hurriedly emerged from his office, his face pale and a worried expression. "Something terrible has happened," exclaimed Benjamin, making everyone around stop and listen. "Valuable documents have disappeared from the vault." A murmur of shock spread through the room. Jessica, one of the assistants, asked, "How is that possible, Mr. Davis? Was the vault broken into?" Benjamin shook his head, looking frustrated. "That's what's strange. There are no signs of a break-in. It looks like an inside job." All eyes started to shift, avoiding meeting anyone else's gaze, avoiding suspicion. That's when Kyle, the ever-gossiping account manager, insinuated, "Well, we have a newcomer here, right? Ava, the janitor. Maybe she saw something or did something." Ava, who had been calm tending to her tasks until then, felt the stares weighing on her. She raised her eyes, meeting Kyle's accusing gaze, and then Benjamin's confused one. "I have no idea what's happening," she said, her voice firm but with a slight tremor. "I would never do something like this. My job is to clean, and that's what I do." Benjamin, trying to remain calm, said, "Ava, please understand. We have to look into all angles. It's a complicated situation." The atmosphere in the agency was heavy, suspicion fueled by rumors and insinuations began to settle in, and Ava felt the weight of those suspicions on her shoulders despite her innocence. Stefania, always observant and shrewd, was attuned to all the frenzy that was taking over the agency. She gracefully approached a group of colleagues discussing the incident with an icy look and a subtle smile. "It's truly surprising what's happening, isn't it?" she began, her voice soft. "You know, I can't help but wonder, wouldn't it be convenient for someone who wants to climb the ladder quickly to get involved in this? Someone who perhaps hasn't been here for very long." Her eyes locked onto Ava, who was a few meters away, surrounded by security guards. Larry, the head of security, approached Ava with a serious expression. "Ava, you need to come with us to the security room. We need to ask you some questions." Ava looked at him incredulous. "I'm just a janitor. I have no access to the vault. I don't even know how it works. Why would they treat me like this?" Stefania, taking a sip of her coffee, added, "Sometimes the most unexpected people can surprise you." Larry, unfazed, said, "It's just standard procedure, Ava. If you're innocent, you have nothing to fear. Ava took a deep breath, trying to contain the wave of emotion that threatened to explode. I have nothing to hide, she said, her voice trembling, but this is humiliating. Stephanie watched triumphantly, certain that she had thrown gasoline on the fire of suspicion. While Ava was escorted to the security room, the atmosphere in the agency became tense. In the days following the incident, murmurs and furtive glances were common. Ava could feel the cloud of suspicion weighing on her every time she entered a room. Conversations would cease, and she could see her colleagues exchanging glances. One morning during the coffee break, Sarah, one of Benjamin's assistants, whispered to her colleague Emily, "Do you really think Ava did this? I've seen her care for those plants with so much love, but who knows?" Emily replied, "I don't know, Sarah, but with the pressure of the theft, it's hard not to think about her. She is the newcomer, after all." Benjamin, who was passing by, couldn't help but overhear the conversation. He approached, looking at them seriously. "I know everyone is concerned and wants answers, but we must be fair and not point fingers without concrete evidence." Sarah, feeling a bit embarrassed, mumbled, "I was just talking, Mr. Davis." Benjamin nodded. "I understand, but remember, a person's integrity should not be tarnished by mere suspicions." Later that day, in his office, Benjamin called Ava. She entered nervously, expecting more interrogations. "Ava," Benjamin began, looking her in the eyes, "I want you to know that I'm doing my best to get to the bottom of this. I promise if you are innocent, I will personally apologize. No one should go through so much pressure without reason." Ava, surprised by his empathy, replied, "Thank you, Mr. Davis. I just hope the truth comes out soon." Amid all that tension, Benjamin Davis couldn't sleep. Doubt about Ava's innocence nagged his mind, but his instinct told him she wasn't responsible. Something doesn't add up, he thought as he looked out of his office window at the sleeping city. The next morning, Benjamin called his old friend Jackson Clark, a renowned private investigator with graying hair and keen eyes. Jackson listened carefully as Benjamin told him about the situation. "Ben, you've always been a good judge of character. If you think Ava is innocent, I'll go to the ends of the earth to uncover the truth," Jackson said as he took a sip of his coffee. Tense days passed as Jackson delved into the depths of the mystery. He reviewed security footage, interviewed employees, and traced financial movements. And finally, one day, he requested an urgent meeting with Benjamin. They met in the bank's conference room. Benjamin, on edge, asked, "What have you found, Jackson?" Jackson, with a somber look, opened his laptop and displayed a set of images. "This, Ben, will change everything." What followed were images from security cameras, emails, and records that linked the disappearance of the valuable documents to someone within the agency. Benjamin looked incredulously at the familiar face in the footage and whispered, "I would have never imagined." Jackson nodded. "I was shocked too, Ben, but the evidence is undeniable." Both knew that what would follow would shake the foundations of the bank agency and change their lives forever. The atmosphere in the conference room was tense. Benjamin, with trembling hands, started playing the security camera footage on a large screen. A familiar silhouette moved stealthily through the hallways, approaching the vault. When the face of the figure was revealed under the soft corridor lighting, a collective murmur filled the room. It was Stefania. "This can't be real," murmured one of the employees, their eyes wide with shock. Benjamin was pale, struggling to maintain his composure. "Stefania, why?" he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. In the footage, Stefania appeared anxious, repeatedly looking over her shoulder as she extracted the documents from the vault. Her determination was clear. She wanted to make Ava pay for what she perceived as a threat to her marriage. Ava, standing next to Benjamin, watching, felt a mixture of relief and sadness. "I knew I was innocent, But I never imagined Stefania would go to such lengths out of jealousy, she said, her voice trembling. Jackson, the private investigator, pointed at the screen. See here, she planted evidence to incriminate Ava. The level of premeditation is disturbing. Benjamin covered his face with his hands. I married a stranger, he muttered. Stefania, far from knowing that her actions had been uncovered, would soon be confronted with the reality of her choices and the devastating consequences they would bring to her life and everyone around her. The room was filled with tension and uncertain glances. Employees exchanged looks, and some whispered to each other. While Ava stood tall with an expression of serene dignity, Benjamin, his shoulders slumped, slowly walked up to Ava. His eyes, once confident and authoritative, now held the gaze of a defeated and remorseful man. He stopped in front of her and, with a deep sigh, met her gaze. Ava, he began, his voice trembling, I don't know how to start. I allowed suspicions to fall on you without sufficient evidence, and I let my judgment be clouded. I deeply apologize from the bottom of my heart. Please forgive me. Ava looked at him, her own eyes moist, and placed her hand on Benjamin's shoulder. Benjamin, I was judged without reason, and I felt the weight of everyone's suspicions. But I understand your position, and strangely enough, I still see goodness in you. I accept your apology. We all make mistakes, but what's important is to learn from them. Some coworkers, watching the scene, began to softly applaud, expressing their respect and admiration for Ava's magnanimity. Realizing that her reputation was intact and her colleagues supported her, Ava felt a wave of relief and hope. She knew that her future at the agency would be promising. Benjamin's decision to separate from Stefania was not an easy one. He found himself in his office, looking through the large windows as the city passed below. His assistant interrupted. Mr. Davis, Mrs. Davis called and wants to speak with you. He sighed. Tell her I'll call back later. The assistant nodded and left, leaving Benjamin with his thoughts. Days later, rumors circulated throughout the company. The news of Benjamin and Stefania's divorce was the talk of the town. Everyone was in shock, but for Ava, it was just another surprising turn in her journey. On a sunny afternoon, Benjamin called Ava into his office. Ava, he said as she sat in front of him, I can't change what happened, but I can ensure that your talent and determination are properly recognized in this company. Ava raised an eyebrow, curious. What do you mean? Benjamin broke into a smile. I'm promoting you. Your new position will be one of the highest in this company. You've proven to be more than deserving. Ava was momentarily speechless, trying to process the information. This is amazing, Benjamin. I don't know what to say. This will change my daughter's life and mine. He nodded. You deserve it, Ava, and I know you'll continue to do an outstanding job. She smiled, thinking of Emmy and the better life she could provide for her. Gratitude radiated from her eyes. Thank you, Benjamin. I promise I won't disappoint. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.